So, we had this next speaker speak for us in Rome, actually, earlier this year. We asked him to come to Miami because his presentation was very well received, and he's up to the ante. He's brought someone with him as well this time, which I'm told is going to keep it all awake and alive for this last session. So we've talked a lot about the digital world, a lot about how it's all being connected, a lot about data, as you saw there, and how it's being used. But what is the attention economy, and how do we really cut through and engage with those consumers? Well, we've got two speakers who are going to bring home today's sessions for us, and they are Jonah Goodhart, SVP from Oracle Cloud and co-founder of Moat, and James Kinloch from Heineken. Let's give it up for them. Come on.
Thank you, sir. All right. ¿Cómo estás? And tudo bom for my Brazilian friends. I am delighted to be here. I am Jonah Goodhart. I am the former CEO of Moat. I am now the Senior Vice President of Oracle Data Cloud and still co-founder of Moat. I am going to jump right in if we have some slides here. They say go like this. All right, so I'll talk for a second before we get the slides. I did the festival in Rome, and I was really excited by the passion of the folks in the group. But I got to tell you that being married to a Brazilian, there is no passion like Latin American passion. So I apologize that we're the last thing before drinks, but I promise you we will try to hold your attention for a few minutes, assuming we can get our slides up here. Otherwise, we will just, all right, says we're good, we're good. There we go, attention, let's start. First of all, Satya Nadella at Microsoft says that the true scarce commodity is increasingly human attention. Yet we all know our attention span is falling. Why is our attention span falling? Because 10 years ago, this came out. And this week, this goes on sale. A lot's changed in the last 10 years. What's really changed? The amount of mobile phones that we have in our hands. How many? 1.5 billion with a B globally sold every year in mobile phones. That has caused a massive shift in how we consume information. Every single other medium, according to Zenith, is down. Magazines, newspapers, radio, cinema, TV, and outdoor even is down. And yes, digital and the internet is up and to the right in a massive way. But television still stands as a great way to tell stories. When I ask brands, how do you tell stories, they always tell me, well, we use TV. Why? Because TV stops your content. It takes over the entire screen, and you can tell a story with sight, sound, and motion. The reality is, though, we're changing the way we consume TV. We now watch what we want, where we want, how we want, on the devices that we want. I watched the World Series last night on my phone. We don't watch scheduled TV in the same way we once did. And of course, this is a worldwide effect. Just look at Netflix subscribers up and to the right in Latin America as one easy example. When you look at demographics, it's pronounced when you look at younger generations. 18 to 24, down over 20% in 2 years. But look at the gap, 80% now, and it's widening between how people consume on traditional television and how they consume in digital. And this is the first year, 2017, according to Mary Meeker, where we will spend more money on digital than we do on television. This is also the year where 75% of all usage is mobile. 75% of all internet usage is mobile. That's phenomenal. So we've been told we are living, and we are in fact living, in a digital-first, mobile-first, video-first world. However, there's a problem. And the problem is we have foundational challenges, structural issues. In digital, things like viewability. Really simple ideas like knowing that somebody had a chance to see the ad that you bought. This really picked up steam over the last few years with articles in the New York Times when Kellogg's decided to not buy a major video site anymore because they couldn't do third-party measurement. It kicked off almost a revolution in the world of digital measurement. A group called the Media Rating Council was appointed in 2011 to come up with standards. If we're going to move to a world where we have viewable ads as our currency, we need to understand what does it mean for an ad to be viewable. So they decided, with the help of a number of folks, that they would define a viewable ad as being half the ad on the screen for 1 second for display, half the video on the screen for 2 seconds for video, and the same definitions applying to mobile. One of the biggest agencies, in fact, the largest media buying agency in the world, said, we're going to have different trading standards than what the MRC prescribes. They decided 100% of the ad has to be on the screen. They decided for video, not only does it have to be there, you got to be able to hear it, and it has to play through at least 50% of duration. Sounds fair, but what's the impact when you apply it across the web? Well, for display, not much. About half of all ads are viewable, half are not. By the way, this is current data. This is Moat Mexico data in Q2. When you look at video, though, the changes are more pronounced. Fewer than 50% of people watch video ads for at least 2 seconds. But look at the right side of the screen, 50% duration with audio, 13%. Same in mobile, less than 50%. And in mobile video, 30% for the MRC definition and 7% for the agency definition. 9 out of 10 ads don't meet the minimum standard for being on the screen. Ad fraud has become a major issue, $7.2 billion according to the ANA in losses in 2016. It's about 4% of all of digital. Measurement more broadly has become a massive issue. Some of you saw headlines like this one, a key social platform overestimated key video metrics for 2 years. Or this one, another major platform has been suspended from a key accreditation service advertisers use to measure their ads over, quote, non-compliance issues. I would argue those last 2 companies are the largest measurement companies in the world, by the way. 97% of marketers, when taking a survey, said that they think digital media owners should be measured by a third party. We agree. This is about being precise. It's about being accurate, and trust matters. What about mobile? We all have our phones on us. We spend 3 hours a day or more on our phone. If you're curious how much you spend, download an app called Moment. It'll tell you how many times you open your phone every day, how long you use it, how long it's unlocked, when you use it. For me, it's 5-ish hours a day. I pick it up 74 times a day, and that depends on the day. That was probably a weekend. But 3 of the top 4 things that we do don't have advertising. It's texting, it's phone calls, it's email. And so attention is the right denominator. What about video? Video first? Well, television's consistent. An ad on ABC looks the same as an ad for the Super Bowl on Fox last night. But in digital, it's not the case. Digital video is complex. We have long form, short form, vertical, horizontal, in-stream, outstream, on and on. Digital video varies by platform and by activity, but attention is ultimately the key. I'm really excited to have James from Heineken here to share some of his thoughts on what Heineken's been doing to be a leader in this space. James.
Thank you very much. ¿Cómo estamos? ¿Bien? Qué bueno, vámonos, güey. Ok. Yo tengo más que como 5 años en México. Mi novia es mexicana, como regia. Bueno, vámonos. Okay, so we've all been talking. I told you I'd get attention. I told you that. So listen, we've all been talking about mobile. It is very, very important. We know that. It's well established. 4 quick fun things I want to tell you today, which are really awesome. Basically, most people would rather give up, would rather give up sex than their mobile phone, okay? Take away from that what you will. I was reluctant to show that to my girlfriend to see what she would say. That would concern me. And actually, when you see this, when you understand that mobile, we live in this world of layers, no? Before we just had TV, which was one layer. Now we have all the iPads, the desktops, and now we have a big, powerful layer, which is called a cell phone. And that's scary. That's scary. It's a filtered world we live in, you understand? Very interesting stuff. So mobile is powerful. And now we scroll through things very, very quickly. Every 1.7 seconds, we're scrolling through content. It's really, really terrifying. So that stoppability, that ability to grab attention with the content we create is really, really hard. You understand? It's really, really hard. So you have to design for people first. And people, that word people, there's another word for that. Some of you may call it consumers. I call it people. It's your friends, it's your family, your sisters, your brothers. There are people too. Look outside. They're not just an Excel spreadsheet every time. It's important to understand that. So 4 things here, which is kind of crazy. I'm going to go right into these. So before, a long time ago, to process a thought, it would take almost 1 second, just below a second, okay? You can see it in here. So just below a second, you process a thought. The clicker's gone crazy. Process a thought. Now, as we get to 2014, it takes 0.13 seconds to process a thought from an image. So think about memories. Memories are contextual. You understand? Has anyone here ever thought of a memory and thought of the accent of that person speaking in the memory? I don't think you have. I certainly haven't. You don't think of smell. You think of a moment, You think of a moment, and that's what you get. And it's understanding that frame-by-frame strategy in everything we create. Not just pixels, that's a different challenge. That's another, that's a production team challenge. I'm talking about frame-by-frame strategy of what that cameraman's doing right now to understand how to capture attention. Frame-by-frame strategy. It's very important, that. So, as you know, this guy here, content now is seconds long. We know this guy very, very well. Very fast, very ahead of his time, quick content, snackable content, did the job. He's an awesome guy, really cool stuff. So, look at this. People scroll through almost 100 meters of content every day. So if you think of a receipt being 100 meters long, okay, with 1,000 different items on there, no sé qué es eso, como aguacate, leche y tocino, como quieres, okay? Yo tocino cada día, ¿por qué? But imagine, gracias. But imagine that, 100 meters long. Imagine if I put that on here now, trying to get the attention for one item on that receipt, just one item on that receipt. It'd be impossible. But imagine if we had that receipt long, white paper with blue ink, and I could change the font style, I could change the color, I could add an emoji, or add something else. With Moat and understanding, we can understand what we need to add and how. Understanding that attention, understanding how we can capture that. Imagine that receipt and understand how we could change that. Because in Heineken, we want to be truly mobile first as a CPG. Okay? And I believe with great leadership in Mexico and beyond, in all our markets, I believe we'll get there in the near future, 100%. Because we do some cool stuff. And I'm not saying that with ego, porque no tenemos egos, eh? Yo odio. With confidence. We're proud of what we do. We do some good stuff, some really good stuff, really cool stuff. But with the conversation we've been having with Jonah, some interesting stuff, we started to understand that revolution will not be televised. And for us, 3 key things. With all the impressions that we were serving, we understand how many of them were fraudulent, how many of them were not even real. That's kind of annoying. How many of those were grabbing attention and the context that we were serving? For us, there's 7 areas that I want to show you of how we look at mobile-first creative, okay? Mobile-first creative. There's 2 I really love. Business objective, that's obvious. The brand essence, what it needs, and things like that, okay? Then we have instant attention. Instant attention is so crucial right now. Think of where that mobile phone is being held, with what weather, at what moment, in what situation, in what mood, on what day, with what friends, in what event. It changes. I work a lot in events, a lot. I work a lot in events. In fact, I've just been at Formula 1 and Knotfest in Mexico. Amazing events. And I see time and time and time again, everyone's on their phone, even at the most important time, even on New Year's Eve, even in some situation where they shouldn't be on a mobile phone, they are. So capturing attention is a challenge. And then importantly, retaining that attention. It's hard to put capturing attention if you then bore the people. It's kind of like, why did you bother, right? You've got to retain that attention, and that's the hard part. And that's where we've learned the most, actually, recently. And importantly, understanding with sound on and sound off. Think of movies from any country you're from. Think of movies 50, 60 years ago. They didn't have much stimuli. Usually they just had a black and white and an audio track, usually a piano. But they kept people watching for several hours. How did they do that? It's okay. You can go back in time and learn from some of the best. Listen to radio. How did they get a family to sit around a radio and listen to everything they're saying for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours? Learn about these things. There's nothing wrong with going back and seeing what some of the masters used to do 50, 60 years ago and learning from them. Because we're in a learning process. We analyzed millions of impressions, okay? Millions and millions of impressions we analyzed. And we learned some hard truths, some really hard truths. This is a brand here, Dos Equis, great team, great leadership, great brand in Mexico and US, fantastic. Most interesting man for some of you that know that. But what we found was we need to be better at mobile, okay? So this is what we found. Of all the impressions we analyzed, great conversations we've had, Jonah, fantastic stuff, wasn't that great? Not everyone was necessarily completing the video with or without sound. And the cost per view was quite high, 12 pesos, más que 12 pesos, okay? So that was kind of interesting for us. That was interesting. I was like, wow, this is great content. We love this, but it can be better. And we're open to that. We know we can improve. We know we can improve. And we've tried to, and we are very much going in the right direction. With Tecate, we made it mobile first with this particular great video, Te hace falta ver más box, or box, for those that know that ad. Very cool, yes, exactly. So those ones there, it's very, very cool. We understood that, and by designing for mobile first, by having that as a culture, not just in terms of the content, as the culture, the attitude, the actions you take, the way you think. Think, your consumers, people, your consumers, it might be raining where they are. They might be under a shop hiding from the rain. What content are they going to look at then? Think of that. Think of the situation they're in. Beyond targeting, imagine the very mood they are in, okay? It could be the day they get paid. It could be the day before they get paid, the day after they get paid. Different moods, huh? Understanding those. So Tecate really started doing well. Great stuff. And again, great team, great leadership. So we took those learnings to 2 more brands, Carta Blanca and Bohemia. And we started understanding a frame-by-frame strategy. Okay? What do the people want and how can we learn from that? Design for people first. It's quite easy. What do the people want? Create for them. Okay? In events, that's incredibly interesting. One thing we do in events, actually, sometimes we'll take 1 to 3 to 5 minutes to just look out at people and see what they're doing. See what they're capturing, see what they're dancing to, see what they like. Learn from them, capture that. Let them be your mood board, the real mood board. It's great. And with Moat, we have that. We have a great viewability and attention mood board. And you can see the results here are great. With sound on or off, the completion rate was really, really high for Carta Blanca, and the investment was really, really low. Invest less, get more. It's kind of a good thing, right? It's pretty awesome. And then we went to Bohemia, another great brand with another great team, great leadership in Mexico City and Monterrey. With Bohemia, we did more as well. So with them, what we understood was, again, frame-by-frame strategy, understanding, having the subtitles in there, designing for mobile first, understanding what they did with radio 50 years ago, all these key tools and understanding for many, many years. There's nothing wrong with going back and bringing those back and understanding how they did it. And again, with this one, we saw great results as well. So I'm going to pass back over to Jonah now, but in summary, understand the frame-by-frame strategy. Understand the attention industry that you're in. We have almost no time. Think of any memory you've had. Think of those memory moments in every video. Go back through it. Learn from people. Learn what really captures attention. And that's important. And that's why I say design for mobile first. Y ya, listo. Gracias.
Thank you. All right. I will finish up here really fast telling you about something called the Moat Video Score. We tried to simplify all of this. We've been studying attention for a long time, and we decided we would ask a few questions. The goal was to come up with a single metric that's universally comparable across platforms. We published what the metric is publicly in a white paper so everybody could see, and it's a starting place. What's interesting, and the idea behind this metric was to say how much of the ads that James had on the screen, how much of that ad could you hear, how much of it could you see, and on how much of the screen did it take up? Was it 10% of the screen, 50% of the screen, 100%, so on and so forth? These were the benchmarks that we saw from 0 to 100 so far, not a single average above 50, interestingly. To demonstrate that, I want to show you 3 quick examples. This is a video playing without sound on relatively small screen real estate. Now let's increase screen real estate and add some sound. And lastly, let's take over the whole screen and have sound. I think sound matters. I think screen real estate matters. I think attention matters in the end of the day. And that's what we're here to try to understand. I'm not going to go through how we go about measuring attention too much depth, other than to say, philosophically, we thought about it this way. If you were to stand outside of a store in any city, you could ask questions. How many people walked by my store? How many people walked in? How much time did they spend there? Was it active or passive time? Did they interact with anything? And maybe, did she make a purchase? With those signals, we would have an attention funnel. We would have an idea that when somebody interacts with at least 2 of my items or 1 of my items, they're 4 times more likely to make a purchase, as an example. And we would market to them differently. We would story to them differently based on what they're actually doing. At Moat, we've tried to do that by collecting raw signals. When somebody visits a web page, whether you're on a mobile device or not, we're collecting signals about whether the ad was there, how long it was there, whether the person scrolled away, how fast they scrolled, whether they scrolled down, whether they scrolled up, so on and so forth. The same types of signals that we collect in video, except in video, what we're really focused on, we saw the impact of those couple of examples, is whether the video played through, could you see it, and could you hear it, and on how much of the screen. Because if you play a video and you put it in the background because you're listening to music, as an example, then we want to know that. We want to know that the person wasn't actually there when your video played through. And so these are the types of questions that we ask. In the end of the day, we can turn those signals into lots and lots of metrics. But here's the most important idea, and this was not mine. This was a TV executive who stood on stage in New York City at their upfront and said, attention is the currency, and I could not agree more. So with that, I think we may take a few questions if there are any, and thank you for your time and attention. And James, come up. Any questions?
Thank you very much, guys. Do we have any questions here? Come on, it's the last session of the day. Surely that energized you enough. Come on, there must be.
You can do them in Spanish too, because James will.
No, en español no, porfa. My Spanish is basic, but it's okay.
Where's my questionnaires? There's a couple of people here who've asked lots of questions all day. Have you got any left? There you are. Look, it was a great presentation, I think, from you. Anyone else have a question? Or I can fire away one if you like, guys.
Sure.
Really interesting stuff that you're talking about from an attention perspective. How are you finding the pickup from advertisers and brands in terms of understanding what you do? Where is their knowledge?
I mean, I guess I'll let James speak to the brand perspective, but from our perspective, so we've been honored to represent a lot of the biggest brands in the world, in Latin America and around the world. And what I would tell you is that we're in the midst of a transition away from old ways of doing things. So when we got into social media measurement, we were the first company to measure on Facebook, first company to measure on Twitter, first on YouTube for viewability. A lot of our advertisers ran 30-second ads with sound, and sound that you really needed to understand what was happening. And so it's been a learning experience where we've been trying to understand the data and help our marketers make smarter decisions about what to do. I think Heineken's been an example of someone who really has embraced not just our insights, but has embraced the transition that we're all having as people, as consumers, and has tried to be proactive in being willing to break stuff and find good solutions. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a great question as well, by the way. I think overall, as you said, we're in a huge transition. I think first and foremost, it's the ability to say we're not perfect. I think you have to start with that. We're not perfect. We need to learn. This is, and especially what we're doing with Moat, it's new. It's very interesting. So we need to understand, number one, we're not perfect. Number two, really comes to the point is, and what we call it, we have a lot of artists in the industry, a lot of scientists, and we were talking about this earlier, Jonah and I. Now we're getting to a point where it's artistic scientists. It's no longer just the norm to have a person in one area who's particularly great at insights. They must have a creative understanding. And same with great creatives now, they must have an insights and data-led understanding. And having those artistic scientists come together is a key thing. And to your question earlier, it's that ability to say, hey, we need to learn, and we do. Learning from other markets, learning from other people, and learning from people like Jonah as well. So I think we have a long way to go, because there's going to be new platforms and new things going forward for sure. But having that understanding of artistic scientists, making sure everyone understands their 10 and 9, their main skill set, but as a second strong skill set as well. From a brand perspective, absolutely key. And in Mexico, for example, there's phenomenal examples of that with Dos Equis, Tecate, and all our other brands. So yeah, it's having a clear understanding. Just want to add in one more thing on that. Usually, sometimes in the industry, you have this kind of, it's someone else's fault that can happen. It can be this team's or that supplier and this supplier. What we're trying to do very much is get to a point where we win and fail as one. And when you have a win and fail as one attitude, it really, really helps the closeness. And most importantly, have the creative people buy into the need for data and insights. And an easy way to do that, what we've done is speak to creatives and say, hey, creatives are artists, right? They are artists. And like any good artist in any exhibition, you'd want your exhibition to be full of people and your artwork to be sold and then to come back again. And when you put it like that, that's why you need data and insights to get the most people to see your artwork.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. Any questions? Wow. Yeah. Wow. Oh, yes, look, we've got two. Yeah, wow. We'll start here. I'm coming back. Don't you worry.
Great presentation. Very
you.
Useful information. You spoke a lot about video. And obviously, we've moved from a world of, at least a digital world of photo, or initially text to photo to video. Now 360 video is coming into play, and interactive 360 is coming into play. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
James, go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you my simple thoughts, and I'll let James answer. But my simple thought is certainly it's unbelievable to see how technology is changing and to see how experiences are changing. If you haven't done virtual reality, go do it, because it'll change your world. All of a sudden, you'll see the future. What I would tell you is that we need to still ask the same question, though, which is, did I get the consumer's attention? And marketers will absolutely go where consumers go. And so if we go to one platform or the other, or one way of consuming media or another, or even without video as an example, like Alexa or Google Mini or things of that nature, the key question from our perspective is, did you get the person's attention, and then what did that ultimately lead to? But I'll let James talk about that.
No, absolutely. That's a really great question. And with new technology or innovation within new or existing technology, I think importantly to your point is it adding value to the consumer's life? What's in that content that gives them value? And do you improve on silence? Meaning, if they say it in the news feed and it's 11 o'clock at night, what value does it bring to them? Okay? There's nothing wrong with being first, but it's also good to be first and right. So we like to test, we like to fail early, we like to try things. And actually, it's a really great question. We should talk more about this because it's making sure everyone in the organization, both within the organization and the greater network, feels confident that they can try new ideas. And maybe, you know what, if it doesn't work, okay. That's not a bad thing. Learning is the problem, okay? If something doesn't work and everyone gets angry in a meeting and it's not, that's not productive. It's not productive. It's your fault, it's my fault, it's their fault. But having the ability to say, you know what, we tried this, it didn't work as well as we expected, what can we learn from it and how can we apply it to the next thing? And that can be within the monthly social media planning cycle and in any way, but having that ability to test and learn and fail and do great stuff together really, really helps. But that's a cultural thing that's important as well, huh? So everyone feels that they can bring great ideas. Some of the best ideas I've ever heard have come from sources you wouldn't believe. It's not necessarily come from this person or that person, they come from any source. So having that as a cultural part, I'd say, is a big, big part of that. In fact, it's central. Thank you.
Excellent. I think I saw one other question somewhere. Put your hand back up. Or, here we go. We started with you. We're finished with you. You've been asking questions all day. I like that.
Right.
Thank you. Congratulations. You are adopted Mexicans, and of course, we love you.
Thank you.
Two things that I noticed is you grabbed my attention with the first portion of Quieres Ver Más box because of the phonetics. And then in the second time around, you changed the phonetics to the vocal. Now you added the A and the double X.
Yes.
And I assume it was because of Sylvester, but now you grabbed our attention one more time because we were already used to their phonetics. Yeah. And my other feedback or observation, and you can ratify or not, is I respect that you respected the original logo of Carta Blanca because that was what felt comfortable with the culture, at least with Next Generation, that we were the ones that drank that. Yeah. And we were still not maybe very fond of Dos Equis.
Okay. Well, no, absolutely. In fact, that's central. The Te hace falta ver más box, or Te hace falta ver más box, is a very, very good example of, as you say, just listening to people. Listen to what they like and what they want. And we should talk more after this as well, because there's a lot of things we're doing where we really have our ears to the ground. So, okay, we launched this product, we launched this campaign, what do you think of it, yes or no? And we will adapt that depending on that feedback. Te hace falta ver más box is a great example of that. A phenomenal example of that. We launched that, could not have expected how well that would have gone and how much it was adopted in memes and all those things. It became a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing. You can say that in a bar. Hey, wait, te hace falta ver más box, cabrón. You can say those things. And it's a cultural thing. It truly is. But we listen to people to do that. So we're not at this point where we're so arrogant that we think everything we do is perfect. You know, we launch and we learn. We launch and we learn and we listen. And obviously, most importantly, respect the culture as well. That's key.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's give them a big round of applause, Jonah and James. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. See you in a minute.